Welcome to the design process. As you can see here, the design process is made of 5 different phases. We start with phase 1, which is the orientation. We move on to phase 2, which is the analysis, where we really develop a strategic plan. We take our plan into phase 3, where is the conception, or where we actually come up with the ideas and direction. With those ideas and directions, we move into phase 4, where we perform the actual visual design. And finally, in phase 5, we prepare the final product to be delivered. For phase 1, the orientation phase, we're performing the initial research. To do this, we need to define the purpose of the project, we need to determine the audience, and we need to conduct research. So when we talk about defining the purpose, we need to ask ourselves, is this a new project or is this a redesign of an existing one? So what's going to happen? Your client's going to call you on the phone and they're going to be all excited about this project. So you need to take control of the situation and really try to narrow down what is the purpose of the project. Along with this, you need to figure out what does a client need for final delivery. It may be a website, it may be an image, it may be a bunch of different things. So you really need to get what is the final delivery. Along with this, you also need to know, is this part of a larger project? In other words, are you working in a team? Are you expected to work in a team? Is there already a team in place and you need to be onboarded with them? So as you're meeting with the client, you need to figure out, are you part of a larger project? Along with this, you need to work with the audience and figure out, who are we trying to sell this product or service to? So some of the things you should be thinking about. What is the target age group? It's a big difference between an 18-year-old male and a 65-year-old female. Along with that, you need to know, are you targeting males, females, or both? And again, if we go back to an 18-year-old male, my target is going to look a lot different than a 65-year-old female who may be well into health and wellness. That male may be way into anime. And speaking about that, there may even be subcultures you want to target. So if you look at that male 18-year-old who's in anime, my design is going to look significantly different than an ad for a 40-year-old male with kids. So you really need to look at the age, whether or not they're male, female, and what kind of subcultures are we trying to reach. The next part is conducting research. So the research comes after you've met with your client and you've developed and figured out the purpose and the audience. You really need to think about, how can I extend my understanding of this project? And is there any additional background information you may need? A good example for me, several years ago, I had a client who sold generators, and he was looking to move into the hospital arena for generators. I didn't know much about that, so I really had to go learn about generators, learn about hospitals, and learn how those two really work together. So that way I would actually be able to talk competently to my client about generators and give him ideas. Also, it's good to know, are there any competitors? The competitors will have dealt with some of the same issues, and you can see how they solved these design problems. So at the conclusion of the orientation phase, you should really understand the purpose of the project, and you should be able to talk competently about the product and how it's going to be marketed. If you have a good understanding of this, you're ready to move on to phase 2. Phase 2 is the analysis phase, and this is where you're going to work on developing a strategic plan with the client. So what you're going to do, you're going to develop a strategy, and you're going to develop a design brief. Developing a strategy. Well, what the strategy is, you're going to take all that information that you gathered in the first phase, and you're going to start looking at it and thinking about it. And you're going to start thinking, what is the message? What kind of message can we say with this information? What does the client want me to say? What does the audience want to hear? And you got to start looking at all that. You also have to start thinking, what is the competition doing? Do you want to be the same as a competition, or do you want to differentiate yourself? What is the client's problem? So as you start to look at all these, you can start to think, what kind of strategy do we need? Does this need to be fun, whimsical? Does it need to be very serious? And these are all things you can take into consideration when developing a strategy. Once you have the strategy, it's time to develop a design brief. So, a design brief is really taking that strategy and making it into an official plan. Now, this plan is built with both the designer and the client, and it should be an agreement. And in this agreement, you really should outline all the specific details of the project, things you're delivering, when you're delivering them, what it's going to entail. So you really need to get specific on this document. The reason why you need to be specific, later on, you're actually going to use this as a measurement tool for your different ideas. At the end of the analysis phase, you're going to have a good strategic plan to start with. And this plan really is just a specific plan of action, and it's something that you and the client have agreed upon, and you both understand what is expected of each other to get this done. As we move into phase 3, this is the conception phase, and this is where you're really going to make that innovative approach to help solve the client's problem. Now, we're going to use a 4-stage model to make this happen. So the stages are the preparation stage, the incubation stage, the illumination stage, and the verification stage. Stage 1, preparation. So we've already done a lot of the preparation in the initial research, so we're just going to go through all of our materials, read them all, lay things out, really make sure we have anything, and if there's any additional research, now is the time to do it, because you need to load everything inside your brain, and this is really how it's going to work. So read it all, look at it all, think about it all, and then we're going to move on to stage 2. Stage 2 is the incubation stage. In the incubation stage, we're going to activate our subconscious mind. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean? I don't really understand that. Well, you've looked at all the materials, you've thought about it, you have different ideas swirling around. And one of the best things to do at this time, take a break. Let it sit inside your mind. Go do something different. Go do some exercise, work on a different project. Take a break for a little bit and just let your subconscious start to think about it. When you're ready to come back, you're going to go to stage 3. Stage 3 is the illumination stage. Now, this is an active process for most designers. Now, the illumination stage, sometimes it's that aha moment and it just suddenly works. And the reason why you get to that aha moment is because you've already done the 2 previous stages, the preparation and the incubation. Everything's already in your mind, so you have different ideas swirling out. You'll often hear designers writing things down in the middle of the night or in the middle of taking a shower or driving a car. They suddenly have the best idea. Well, it's not by accident. It's because they've really done the research and thought about it. Now, this is an active process for most designers, and as such, there are different things you can do. You can conduct brainstorming sessions, and these can be with yourself, they can be with others, but something to really get these ideas rolling. You can develop what's called a mind map, and you can use words, phrases, ideas to help you build associations between different words. Along with that, you can use mental maps, and you can map between different concepts to bring these ideas out of you. You should also be putting all these ideas on paper, and they might not be visual, just words, ideas, different approaches. Now we're to stage 4, and this is really the verification stage, and this is where you're just going to evaluate the effectiveness of the ideas you got in the previous illumination stage. So you're really going to be moving back and forth between stage 3, stage 4. I have a great idea, let me write it down, and then let's go look at it. This is also the stage where that design brief comes back. You can use it as a resource to double check that your ideas really fit what you've laid out with the client as the strategic approach you wanted. So this is a good stage to keep bringing the ideas and letting them happen. At the end of the conception phase, you should really have an approach. And what I mean by approach, there should be several ideas that solve the client's problem. And you're going to take these ideas and you're going to move them into the design phase. Welcome to the design phase. Now, this is what everyone thinks of as design, because this is where we really get down and we start actually working with our hands, working with the computers, and developing these visual solutions. Now, normally we start out real quick with thumbnails, we move into rough ideas, and finally we develop the comprehensives. So thumbnails are very easy to do. Really, they're just meant to be quick sketches. And these quick sketches are ways to test ideas and concepts. When I say thumbnails, they should be small, they should be quick, dirty, messy, idea on top of idea. And oftentimes, designers do this with paper and pencil. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do thumbnails. You just need to work through a lot of visual ideas really quick. You can do it on an iPad, you can do it with the Apple Pencil, you can do it with your finger on different apps, things like that. Like, it doesn't matter what you're using. You just need to be able to work through ideas quickly. Once you get a bunch of thumbnails and you have an idea where to go, you're going to start working on roughs. So with the roughs, we're really taking those thumbnails and we're moving them into the computer. Now, speed is of the essence here. You might have 20 ideas, so we need to start working with them. So we're going to use what is called placement text, which is just fake text. You're going to start putting the images, the text where you think it might go. You're also going to start working with placement images. You might not have final images, so you're just going to use things real quick to go in there. And ultimately, you're looking for viable solutions that answer your ideas that you came up with in the previous phase. Once you have your roughs, you're going to start working on the comprehensives. Now, these comprehensives, these are really the refinement of your roughs, the ones that really worked, and you're going to start working with real images, putting in the client's text. Once you get some good comprehensives, this is where you actually start going back and forth with the client. So you're going to show the client the idea, they're going to come back with their own revisions, changes, ideas, and you're going to do an iterative process between the two to get the final solution or solutions that you need. And by the end of all this, you should really have a final direction for this whole project ahead. So at the end of the design phase, you really should have a final solution that is ready to go and approved by the client. This solution can then go to the final phase, which is implementation. The implementation phase is where we deliver the final product. Now, this is kind of the, I hate to say easy stage, but there isn't a lot to it. If it's going to press, you're going to run it through pre-press. If it's going online, you're going to do online formats. And really, it's how am I going to implement this project? So if you're going to pre-press, obviously you need to have printer proofs. And these proofs are going to show the printer what it should look like, what you want. You're going to have to make sure all your images are correct, do any color conversions, go back and clean up things that you didn't do quite right, remake things, but you're trying to get a perfect file ready to go. You need to make sure you have all the right fonts, all the right images, and you need to get it all together and send it over to the printer. If you happen to be going in an online route, there's some other things you need to keep aware of. Are you using the appropriate technologies? Is it a web-based format? Is it a Facebook app? Is it who knows what? There could be many different things. You always got to make sure you know what the client specified. If you're delivering pictures for online, what are the pixel dimensions? Do you need it at 1x, 2x, 4x size? Is it what kind of screen? So there's a lot of different questions here. And along with that, you also need to know what type of file types may you need. At the end of the implementation stage, you should just have a final product delivered in the final formats. As we finish up the design process, you can see we've been through all 5 phases. And if you start at the beginning, orient yourself to the project, develop a good strategic plan, think about some good concepts, and then design those concepts, at the end, you should be able to deliver a final product that answers the client's issues and makes them happy.